Remember, we have completed factorization by taking out the highest common factor, and also factorization involving the change of sign, and factorization by grouping. And today we're looking at factorization of difference of two squares, and we abbreviate that one to dots. The best starting point, I think, would be for you guys to remind yourselves how you expand a plus b multiplied by a minus b. Remember, we use FOIL, and FOIL means we take the firsts and multiply those together, and that will give us a squared. Right, then we take the outers, those are our outers there, multiply those two by each other, and that will give you minus ab. Then take the inners, these are the inners, so the inners will give us plus ba, or ba is the same as ab, so I'll say plus ab. And then take the lasts, these are the lasts, and those two will give you minus b squared. Right, if you simplify, because these two here are like terms, if you simplify that, you will get a squared minus b squared. So what we are saying exactly is a squared minus b squared is the same thing as a plus b into a minus b. This is the same thing. And take note, this here is actually difference of two squares. A difference comes from the fact that there is a minus there. So that is where the difference comes in. So this is difference. Difference of two squares, and the two squares are the square of a and the square of b. So a squared is a square number, b squared is a square number, and we are subtracting those from each other. So we then get what we call difference of two squares. So here are many examples of difference of two squares. I'll just go through as many of those examples with you. How do we factorize expressions that actually allow for us to use this method? So let's take number one. Number one is x squared minus 1. Right, there is a minus sign there, so this is a difference. You are not going to use difference of two squares if there is a plus sign. So difference means minus, so there has to be a minus sign. Now this expression actually means the same thing as x squared minus 1 squared. Remember, 1 means 1 squared. So can you see the difference of the two squares there? Right, now to factorize difference of two squares, here is the quickest way to do it. All you need to do is, as soon as you realize that this is difference of two squares, just open two sets of brackets like that. And then in one bracket put the plus sign, in the other bracket put the minus sign. You choose wherever you want. So like put your plus sign in this bracket somewhere there in the middle, and put your minus sign in the bracket somewhere there in the middle as well. Remember, you can actually decide to put the minus sign in the first bracket and the plus sign in the second bracket. Then the next thing you do is to take the square root of the terms. So what is the square root of x squared? That will give you x. So x goes to the left. So x goes to the left. And then take the square root of 1 squared. The square root of 1 squared is 1. So 1 goes to the right, and 1 goes to the right. So your answer is x plus 1 in one bracket and x minus 1 in the other bracket. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2 is x squared minus 16. Right, is that difference of two squares? First of all, there is a minus sign there, so that's a difference. Are those numbers squared? X is squared and 16 is also a square number. You can write 16 as 4 squared, remember? So this is difference of two squares. So draw your two sets of brackets like that. In one bracket put a plus sign, in the other bracket put a minus sign. And then take the square root of the terms. The square root of x squared is x. Right. So x goes to the left. And the square root of 4 squared is 4. So 4 goes to the right. So that will be our answer. Right, number 3. X squared minus 25. That can be written as x squared minus 5 squared. That is difference of two squares. And so draw your two sets of brackets. In one bracket put a plus. In the other bracket put a minus. then work out the square root of each term. The square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 5 squared is 5. So x goes to the left, and 5 goes to the right. And that is your answer there. Right, number 4, 16x squared minus 9. The difference is there. There is a minus sign. But are those numbers square numbers? 16 is a square number. 16 can actually be written as 4 squared, right? So this is 4 squared x squared. 9 is also a square number. We can write it as 3 squared. And so this is difference of 2 squares. So just draw your 2 sets of brackets. In one bracket, put a plus wherever you want. In the other bracket, put a minus. Then take the square root. So the square root of 4 squared x squared. Square root of 4 squared will be 4, and square root of x squared will be x. So we know that 4x goes to the left. So it's 4x to the left. And then 3 squared, the square root of 3 squared is 3. So 3 goes to the right. Right. And then if you look at number 5, number 5 is x squared y squared minus 4p squared. Right, there is a minus sign, so there's a difference. But are those numbers or terms squares? The left-hand side, everything is squared there. 4 is also a square number, so everything is a square. So this is difference of 2 squares. So all you can do now is maybe write it first of all as x squared y squared minus 4 means 2 squared p squared, like that. This is difference of 2 squares, so you can draw your 2 sets of brackets. Put a plus sign in one bracket and put your minus sign in the other bracket. The left-hand side now, the square root of x squared y squared will give you xy. So xy goes to the left. And the square root of 2 squared p squared will give you 2p. So 2p goes to the right. And that is our answer. Okay. Then for number 6, you will notice 50 and 2 are not square numbers, but clearly you can factorize the 2 terms because they do have 2 in common. So 2 is a common factor, so if you take 2 outside your bracket, then you will get inside the bracket x squared minus 25. And this thing can be written as x squared minus 5 squared. Now x squared minus 5 squared is difference of 2 squares. So don't leave your 2. It means now you can just draw your 2 sets of brackets for x squared minus 5 squared. Put a plus sign in one bracket and a minus sign in the other bracket. And square root of x squared is x, so x goes to the left. And the square root of 5 squared is 5, so 5 goes to the right. That should be easy, right? Number 7, negative p squared plus 9. Right, the best thing there is for you to rearrange that and write it properly. That will be 9 minus p squared. If you write it the other way around, I think you can clearly see this is difference of 2 squares. So this is 9 minus p squared. Now 9 is a square number, remember? 9 means 3 squared. So this is 3 squared minus p squared. So now you can draw your 2 sets of brackets. Then put a plus somewhere and a minus somewhere wherever you want in both the brackets. And then take the square root. The square root of 3 squared is 3. So 3 goes to the left. And the square root of p squared is p. So p goes to the right. Good. Finally, number 8. Number 8 is a minus b all squared minus 4. The left-hand side is the square of a minus b, so that's a square number. And 4 is a square number. 4 is actually 2 squared. So this is the same thing as a minus b all squared subtract 2 squared. So this is difference of 2 squares. So draw your brackets. I think we need bigger ones here. Right, then in one bracket put a plus sign. In the other bracket put a minus sign. Then take the square root. The square root of a minus b all squared will give you a minus b, so that's a minus b there. So a minus b goes to the left. And then the square root of 2 squared is 2, so 2 goes to the right. And that should be our answer there.